Hi, I'm Nico Barnard, talking to you about sorghum, and we want to talk about the viable sorghum production. And I work in the central areas, mostly Standerton and Koppies, what is the biggest sorghum production area in South Africa. When we start talking about sorghum, everybody wants to know how we're going to increase yield. And the drivers in yield in sorghum is your plants per hectare is the biggest driver in your yield, and that is 100% in your control. You can decide what plant population you plant, but the other drivers, the amount of seed-bearing tillers, the amount of seeds per head, and the seed weight is more out of your hands, but it's been determined by plant population, planting date, environment, and also nutrition. So I'm going to focus a little bit on plant population, environment, planting date, and the nutrition you're going to use while producing sorghum. Plant population will be determined by your yield goal, your long-term average. These two factors will determine what plant population you'll plant. You'll see in a very low yielding environment, less than 4 tons per hectare, usually in areas of less than 400 millimeters of rain, there you need a low plant population. 30 to 50,000 plants per hectare is on the dot, and when you want to plant let's say 50,000 plants per hectare, you must add additional 25% of seed, because sorghum seed is small, get damaged very easily and dies off quite easily, and it's important to up your stand with 25% to make place for that seed that can be damaged. And also it's the rate, seed size is very important. That's why you see, I put in there 28,000 seeds per kilogram, and so in a bit high yield environment, between 6 and 8 tons, we want between 60 and 110 plants per hectare, and that's roughly 5 to 9 kilograms of seed per hectare. The important thing is, at the end, at harvest, I want at least 120 seed-bearing ears per plant. That will give you your average yield in a 6 to 8 ton environment. I've spoken about the seed size, and we class our seed in 2 different classes. A bit bigger class, the class 1 with the bigger seeds, and that is on average roughly between 25,500 seeds per kilogram, and the class 2, the smallest seed, is roughly 34 seeds per kilogram, and that for a 60,000 stand, that will amount up to 4 kilograms per hectare. It's important to look at your label on the bag. That label tells you the amount of seeds per kilogram is in the bag. So look at the label, and from there on, use it to make your calculations on your seed being used. The reason I'm putting emphasis on that is, especially when you go from one batch number to another one, or from one product, one cultivar to another cultivar, is that you can discriminate between the one if you don't change your amount of seed you use, due to the fact that different batches will have different seed sizes. The influence of planting date on sorghum yield is well known, but you'll see in this trial data over time that in high yield environments a bit earlier plant population will work, but in most scenarios your ideal planting date is between mid-November and mid-December. If you plant later in the season, especially in the northern parts of the country, you will see that usually planting date is determined by rainfall, and it can happen they plant very late in January, and that will obviously decrease your yield, but also try to plant as early as possible to get that highest yield for your area. But in a normal planting scenario where normal rain falls, mid-November to early December is your ideal planting date. Planting depth is a thing that not a lot of people talk about, and you will see we recommend a planting depth between 2.5 to 6 centimeters. The reason why is if you plant too deep, the emergence of a seed is slow, and that slow seed is very susceptible to wet, cold conditions where the plant will turn red, and if that red plant is there, it's going to pass, it's going to disappear and it's gone. If you plant too shallow, the sorghum is tend not to make tillers, and if there's not enough tillers, your yield is also gone. Very important for me is also row width you plant. In low yielding environments, any row width will do. But when you're planting higher yield environments, your rows needs to be close up. Between a 6 to 10 ton environment, 5-foot rows or 1.5 meter rows is not recommended. And in a high yielding environment like irrigation or very high potential soils, we don't recommend wide rows, only narrow rows. You will see the difference when you start using this. For fertilizer in sorghum, again, yield goal is the driver, and you'll see we recommend for pH between 5.5, 7.5. If you go below in acid soils, I wouldn't recommend soybeans in that acid soils. And the reason is that sorghum doesn't perform there, but it can perform in that higher pH values. Soybeans need at least 22 kilograms of nitrogen, 3 kilograms of phosphorus, and 4 of potassium to give 1 ton. And you'll see in that in the sandy soils we recommend at least a little bit more nitrogen than in the clay soils due to leaching, and also in the sandy soils we want the plants to be a bit stronger, so you can use that a little bit more nitrogen to stimulate a bit stronger plant. So your yield goal and your potential will determine what fertilizer you use. I'm happy to announce to you that we have got a new product, Pan 8950. It's a nice red seed grain cultivar with a sweet, not high tannin cultivar, and it is a high potential cultivar. And in our trials last year, it performed 12.5% better than Pan 8816, the old champion. I'm very happy to say I can recommend this in all areas of your farms. It's got a nice open head where insect management, insect control is easy to get your insecticides into between the seed. And as I said, it has a lot of seed-bearing tillers, and everywhere you plant Pan 8816, you can plant Pan 8950. To conclude, the Pan 8950, very much the same as Pan 8816, can be planted in all production areas. Very good, stable products. And the bitter one, Pan 8625, you can also plant. You'll see all of them has got the same type of product. You can plant in all the sorghum production areas. Please contact your local sales representative so that you can make an appointment and he can give you your recommendations in order from them. Thank you.